Okay, here's the thing about dating an alcoholic. You don't fall in love with the alcoholic version of them. You fall in love with the sober version. And you sit there in this relationship wondering, is this the real version? When he was sober, he was one of the most impressive men I had ever dated. He was smart, successful, and so handsome. But when the morning came, if he didn't start drinking literally Tito's from the bottle, he would start shaking and going through withdrawal. I stayed anyway. And before anybody jumps to any sort of conclusions here, I am not sharing this story to shame him in any way. Addiction is an illness. I'm telling this story because I stayed longer than I should have. And hopefully by sharing this, I'm able to connect with somebody else too. So I dated an alcoholic. He was hot and then he got drunk. So let me tell you about how we met. I was having lunch by myself one day, actually working. So I had my computer out and I wasn't really listening to his conversation at the bar, but eventually there was nobody else in the restaurant. It was just me sitting at my table and him at the bar talking to the bartender. And he was loud enough that I heard what he was saying. And he was asking the bartender, like, who's that girl over there? What's her deal? Whatever it was. And I'm listening. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I know he's talking about me, and I have the confidence to get up and go introduce myself. And I'm like, hi, like, I'm Tori. I heard you talking about me. And we sit down, we start drinking, we start talking. It's pretty chill, but my God, is he handsome. Like, this is like the type of man that I had only dreamt of being with. I was like, oh my God, he's like over 6 feet tall. He works out. He's like a little older, so like kind of like salt and peppery, gorgeous blue eyes, and just like tan. It's just like dream come true. So like I'm enamored by this man at this bar. We just keep talking, time's passing, and eventually he has a haircut appointment and he wants me to come. And I'm like, that is so weird, but like kind of cool. Like, I want to spend more time with you. So I'm totally down to go. So we take our drinks to go. And another thing that should have been dinging in my head right now, he has a driver, a full-time driver. And now I know it's because he's always drunk, but I'm like, oh wow, like he has a driver. We're taking a drink on the road. I'm going to go with him to get a haircut. And like, he's saying all of the right things. And I'm like, I know he's trying to like impress me, but like, I hope he knows that like, by saying he's going to take me shopping or whatever, that's not what's going to impress me, but I'm happy that he cares. And that's where I'm at that point. So we went for the haircut and he took me back to his place. We started smoking and talking, and he just gave me that look that I knew he was about to kiss me, and he did. And I just melted. I was just like, is this really happening? Because this is the guy who gets with all of these really hot models, these tall, beautiful Pilates instructor, I don't know, you name it, and he's been with them. And I'm like, that this wasn't ever going to be a long-term thing. I think I should say that right off the bat. This is like in my Miami having fun era. So at this point, I had recently recovered from having my seizures, but I wasn't able to drive. And he lived 3 buildings down from me. So keep in mind that there is a matter of convenience here, and convenience and chemistry are a very dangerous combination. I realize that we're never going out for dates. He's always saying he wants to go somewhere or do something, but never actually does. And any plans that we ever made were always canceled. We would still see each other, but it was just like stay home. He lived at this residence that had a club attached, and we would stay at his residence and go downstairs for dinner and just kind of like go back up. And that was fine with me. I didn't need to like go out and have a good time, but I felt like he was telling me that he wanted to do all these things to try to impress me. And I really wanted him to feel like I was different in a way, because I truly wasn't needing to go shopping and go to nice dinners or whatever. I thought that he probably felt that he had to put on this sort of show for all the other girls. And in Miami, that is very common. But I wanted him to feel like I genuinely cared for him, because I did. And I wanted him to know that. So around Christmas time, he's still doing this whole talk the talk thing and not walking the walk thing. So I decide to take it upon myself to buy him a small present for Christmas. And looking back, that was absolutely too much. But at the time, I just wanted to show him that I cared and that he didn't have to be the one giving me things. I wanted him to receive that back. Maybe he hadn't ever. So I gave him a gift for Christmas. And that's when I started realizing that nothing he was saying to me was true. And I meant nothing, not just like disappointed dates that didn't happen at this point. I mean, literally nothing this man said was true. So, something I noticed happening was that when he would get drunk, he would keep telling the same story over and over and over again. And anybody who was around him knew this too. And eventually it just kind of like got a little embarrassing and obvious that like he wasn't able to get past certain things in his life, some of these stories that he was retelling. And also that all he wanted people to know about him were these stories that he was telling. And there wasn't any more depth to that. Now, that isn't necessarily a lie, but it's just something that I noticed about him that just wasn't genuine in a way that he just had to put on this show every time he was drunk. So, like, these weren't mastermind malicious lies, they were just like drunk lies. One time he told me that he had to go to Jupiter for a work thing, and I was like, great, go, have a great time, safe trip, whatever. And it's like 8 o'clock in the morning and he's already supposed to be long gone. I get up and decide to go on the boardwalk for a walk. And I kid you not, I take 2 steps onto the boardwalk. And who is right in front of me? It's this man. And I had an option here. I could confront him and be angry, like, what the fuck are you doing here? You told me you were in Jupiter. But I knew that this man was sick and attacking him wasn't going to get either of us anywhere. And I teased him a little bit about it, but like knew in my mind that is a major red flag. What kind of liar is that? I don't know the reason that he didn't go. I never asked. I never found out. Like I said, this is a really topical relationship because it really couldn't get anywhere past this point with all of the alcoholism. At this point in our relationship, I am doing way too much. I feel like I have to take care of him. When I wake up in the morning, sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not there. If he's not there, it meant he went to go find the alcohol. If he's there, it's because he's in withdrawal and needs the alcohol. So I had never witnessed this before. I had only heard about it and seen it on TV shows, but I realized that what he was experiencing was withdrawal. If he didn't drink and have enough alcohol in his system, really the morning after, he would start shaking and sweating and vomiting. And sometimes he would try to get through it, but like he really couldn't. And sometimes this would happen in the middle of the night and he would try and take something to help him sleep. But nothing really worked. And he would sneak down to the club downstairs and literally break into the bar and start swinging from the bottle and come back upstairs like he had done nothing. And obviously, I knew what he did. But again, I wasn't trying to call him out and make him feel ashamed because I truly wanted to help him and wanted him to know that I was there to support him if he wanted to get better. But that's the thing. You can't want somebody to get sober more than they want it for themselves. And I knew that, but I was still going to try. I asked him if he wanted help and he didn't. So all I could do was really support him the best that I could. But eventually it ended up taking too much out of me. So things started happening, like he broke his phone and he needed a new phone. He obviously broke his phone in like a drunk moment. And I got a phone call from the bartender with him on the phone saying that he had broken his phone. He needed me to drive him to the AT&T store and get him a new phone. So that's what I did. And it was sad. It was honestly sad. He was spewing racist remarks in the store. I almost had to like kick him out. And then as soon as we got back to the car, he just whips out his you know what and starts peeing right next to somebody else's car. And I'm like, this is disgusting. But again, this is an illness. This is a man who is sick. So here I am cleaning up the mess and, doing these things that I really shouldn't be doing. I shouldn't be inconveniencing myself to take care of him at this point. So eventually, this is going to come to a head. I didn't end up with the alcoholic. So here is how the rest of the story goes. If you're enjoying this or you can relate to this story, please make sure you like and subscribe. It means the world to me, and I would love to connect with you guys a little bit more. So we started seeing each other in December, and by February, it was going to be over. The Super Bowl came around, and we had plans to just watch it at his place and enjoy the club downstairs. They were having like a little bit of a party, and of course, he got drunk. But this time it was different drunk in the sense that we weren't at home, we were in public, and things got a little out of hand regarding his behavior. He was just causing a little bit of a scene, and I'm not going to lie, it was embarrassing. At that point, I realized that people started to know that I was with him and were seeing what I was putting up with. And again, I only did this with the best heart and the best intentions, but there's only so much that somebody in my position can take. So he has this drunken night in public, and it's pretty embarrassing, but we survive it and we make it home. And when I say we make it home, I mean like this man is probably 6'3", and like I don't have a great gauge of weight, but let's just say the fact that I got him back upstairs was truly a feat and a miracle. So the second we get upstairs, he goes to turn the TV on, and the TV is blaring at max volume. So loud, it genuinely hurt my ears. And I was like, we got to turn the TV down. And I'm kind of taking control of the situation because I'm sure he's not even in the right state of mind. So I'm like, we need to turn the TV down. And I'm probably screaming this too because the TV is that loud. He snaps. He absolutely snaps. And he's like, how dare you tell me how loud to put the TV in my own house? Get the F out. And I had it at this point. I was like, you don't need to ask me twice. I see that you are getting out of control, rageful. I live down the street, like 3 buildings down, so it's no problem for me to leave, and I left more than happily. I say more than happily, but obviously I was devastated to see him in that state. But I've been through situations where I've had to get myself out of them before to protect myself for genuine safety, and this wasn't scary for me to leave. I knew the right move was to leave. So I was in tears leaving. And it wasn't because I was sad that we had a bad night. It was because I was devastated that this man was so sick and there was nothing I could do to help him. So I left and I went home. I went to bed, and I was probably thinking by this point, like, there's no way he's going to reach back out to me. This is over. The apology needed for what I put up with couldn't happen. He's not capable of it. And then I got a phone call at 7 a.m. And I was like, wait a second, is this the apology? I really was thinking that it was, but it was not. To my surprise, he calls at 7 a.m. and I pick up the phone and he's like, hey, babe, where are you? Did you go downstairs to get coffee? What? Did I go downstairs to get coffee? Do you have no recollection of what happened last night? You kicked me out. You were drunk beyond belief. You made an entire scene in public. And he's like, oh no. And he obviously feels really bad about it. But I'm like, you blacked out. You blacked out so badly that you thought I woke up next to you. You thought that I slept over. You thought I went to go get you coffee after all of that. And there was never any like dramatic breakup. I think it just got to a point where I wanted to help him more and he didn't want the help. And you can't love somebody sober. So I couldn't love him into being sober. I couldn't support him enough into being sober. I couldn't try and get him away from alcohol and do things like normal activities because he needed to be around alcohol all the time. And I am a mother. And this lifestyle, like I said, was never going to work, but I had exhausted all that I could possibly give him at this point. And that was the last straw. I knew that I didn't deserve this, and I could no longer tiptoe around his illness. Loving someone with an addiction is exhausting because you're always loving the sober version and surviving the drunk one. I had honestly done so much for someone who was giving me so little, and It's not his fault. He's not a bad guy. He is a beautiful soul. And when he's sober, he is so smart. He's so intelligent. I loved talking about history with him. There really is depth to his soul. And it's such a shame that he's truly overcome with this illness. And all I could want for him is that one day he wants to get better enough that he does. I really also hope that he finds a partner who's able to support him. And I hope that he gets what he wants out of life. If he wants a family and he wants children, I truly do hope and wish that for him. I still think about him all the time. There are certain things that remind me of like little jokes that we had, and it makes me want to check in on him. And I'm not gonna lie, I have a couple times. I have texted him, I've reached out. Nothing crazy, but just kinda like, honestly, like, "Hey, wanna know you're still alive," because I care, and I want him to know that I am here if he does one day wanna reach out or need something or somebody. I always have a really open heart, and I'll always have a soft spot for him because I know that this is not what he wants for himself, and I know that he's truly hurting, and I'll always have compassion for that. If you've ever dated an addict or an alcoholic or have had any sort of relationship with somebody who is suffering from an addiction, please let me know in the comments below. I know that so many people go through this and they go through it alone. And there can also be a lot of shame in staying in these situations. It's like, why would you do that? You know he's so bad for you. But sometimes your heart just cares. And that's a beautiful thing and nothing to be ashamed of. I think that trying to help someone and trying to love someone is never a bad thing and should only be applauded. But it's also important to know that your safety and your well being trumps whatever love and support you're able to give. Because if you end up being trampled on and suffering because of someone else's illness, there is nothing left of you to help them. So I think that that's really important, and you really shouldn't lose sight of this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Tori. This is Young, Hot, and Divorced, and I hope you guys have the best day. Bye.